This show is strictly for educational purposes. The opinions expressed on the show are personal to the individuals appearing in the show and not those of Thinking Tree Ecoholics Private Limited. The show is not intended to offend or defame any individual, entity, caste, community, race, or religion, or to denigrate any institution, person, living or dead. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Hello and welcome to Ecoholics Thinking Tree series. Today we have with us very important distinguished guest, Professor Dr. S. Mahendre. He is currently the Director and Vice Chancellor of IGIDR, Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, an advanced research institute established by Reserve Bank of India. And he was a former chairman of CACP under Ministry of Agriculture, who decided MSP and other policy purpose. So welcome sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So today's topic that we'll discuss with the important personality about the future of Indian economy, and that is a very vital topic regarding the current situation of Indian economy. The Indian economy along with the world is in an extraordinary situation right now. Our problems that were pre-existing are now amplified by this crisis. Nevertheless, sooner or later this pandemic will end, but our problems most likely will remain in place. In today's discussion, we will broadly look at the Indian economy, the scope for its improvement, and the underlying issues. So, to begin with, a recent data I was reading in the newspaper says almost 84% of Indian households saw their income fall last month under the lockdown. 100 million Indians losing their jobs since March 25th. As the Keynesian model suggests, the repair work in an economy begins from the demand side. However, with the falling incomes, increased public spending does not seem like an option for revival. What is your take on this?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, it is true that the lockdown has a devastating effect on the employment and labor. In fact, first time in our the history of India, unemployment increased from 8% to 27%, according to CMI data. And 122 million loss of jobs experienced during this period, particularly in April. Out of that, 90 million loss of jobs were for small traders and wage laborers, including migrant workers.
Yes.
So one expects, relief measures for these, laborers because they lost the jobs. Because only asset for labor, for workers is labor. So if you ask them not to, work, so they have to be compensated. So that they have to be given relief. But the problem with the government is that they don't have money. Basically, because of the slowdown, even before pre-COVID time, the revenue has declined, and even last year fiscal deficit was 4.6%. So now this year, the combined fiscal deficit earlier was 6.5 or 7%. Now they are expecting 11% or so, the combined central and state fiscal deficit. And if you add off budget money and then public sector borrowing, it may be 13% or something. Yes. So already they are borrowing from the open market, the government 12 lakh crores. It has increased from 7 lakh crores to 12 lakh crores. So as a result, there are limited resources for the central government. Yes. So that's why they have the package 20 lakh crore package. Out of that 10% of GDP, they said. Out of that, real fiscal measures are only 1% or something. Yes. So it is true that we need more relief for the laborers and all, which hopefully they may give next few months more. But I feel that some relief can be given, even if you print money for little bit. Yes. One should not do 1% or something, and then get back in the medium term to fiscal deficit. Yes. So that's why the fiscal there is a limitation, but yes, there is still some room for 1% or so to spend, so that some relief can be given to this, particularly those who are affected by the laborers affected by the COVID.
Yes, indeed. Because RBI has in talks about the helicopter money as well. So they are just.
But you can't do too much, 4% of GDP or something, because it will affect future generations. The debt will increase and all. So that's why you need a limited one, and then get back fiscal medium-term fiscal plan. Get back to the normal fiscal deficits.
Yes, sir. Because fiscal consolidation is the part of the FRBM Act.
Yeah,
the NKC committee also gave the escape clause. So that is quite, we can say, legally accepted for the government as well. And the other, this is obviously extraordinary circumstances, so we can do that. So yes, in the past, sir, I've seen like government has been implementing supply side reforms. They're reducing the income tax, expecting that corporates will increase their spending, the investment, private investment down. So what is your take on that? Why government is taking supply side measures?
When there is a crisis, generally the governments take this opportunity to have reforms. So that's why they announced the medium-term reforms, like the 1991 reforms. There was balance of payments crisis, or during global financial crisis throughout the world, there were many reforms were there. So, for example, the privatization and also the agriculture reforms they're planning. So all these things, medium-term reforms are important, but also in the immediate future, to take care of the relief measures are equally important, because if they don't get jobs or things, so demand measures are important. So there should be a balance between short-term and the medium-long term.
Yes. Moving on to subsidies, the promise of providing subsidies has been very popular among the election manifestos. These subsidies are increased and renamed by subsequent governments. However, they have never been discontinued. Economists argue that direct benefit transfer (DBT) in place of these subsidies can go a long way in improving the condition of the less privileged people in India, while also easing India's financial burden. What are your thoughts on this?
Subsidies, are not good for the economy, but subsidies are introduced generally. For example, if you take agriculture subsidies, during Green Revolution time, it was needed because to adopt the technology that time. But they should have removed after that. The problem with subsidies is once you introduce, removal becomes a problem. For example, fertilizer subsidies or free power. Several credit subsidies. So they were needed in the 60s, 70s to have the new technology. So similarly in non-agriculture also some subsidies are given to promote, for example, startups or something, but they should not be permanent. In fact, there is a study by NIPFP earlier. It showed 14% non-merit subsidies, 14% of GDP.
That is huge.
Now it is a 6%. Like bus subsidies or several subsidies, and also exemptions for the tax payers. So many exemptions are given, subsidies. So these are not good, and there is a trade-off between subsidies and investments. For example, agriculture, the subsidies are increasing, but investment is declining, public investment. Yeah. And also when we come to the, later on environment or some issues, subsidies are bad because, fertilizer, too much nitrogen, if you put the soil, soil quality will be affected, and too much water pumping, water logging, all those, because free power, the farmer goes and switch off the motor today and switch off tomorrow because there is no cost. So water is wasted, electricity is wasted. So subsidies have also impact on environment and also on the investments. But some may be needed. For example, startups or some kind of initially, because for example, solar energy, initially it was needed, So, but the problem is once you start, then removal becomes, and also farm loan waivers is, as you
Yes.
said, manifestos they put.
Yes.
Farm waivers will not solve the problems of agriculture. I mean, the temporary solution. But what farmers need is a right price
Right.
for their products. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it means it should be phased out in a such manner that the subsidies will ultimately, and that is for initial thrust, government is, but not able to like withdraw.
Yeah.
So that is a great point, because government introduced subsidy to incentivize certain sector, but they are find it very difficult, and that promotes the inefficiency in uses.
Yeah, that's true.
Since the RBI has been aggressively using monetary policy to revive investment since we can say 4 or 5 months in right now, and 1.5 year, do you think this can lead us to situation like liquidity trap where the effectiveness of monetary policy becomes obsolete?
This is an extraordinary situation, the COVID situation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
central government, RBI, state governments have responded to that. And RBI has done in the last few months almost 8 lakh crores of liquidity and measures. In
Yes.
fact, out of 20 lakh crores of package, RBI is 8 lakh crores.
Yes.
So basically, they have done interest rate reduction and then liquidity to TRO and other measures, LTRO and conventional and unconventional measures. And then third one is a moratorium.
Yes.
3 months now extended to 6 months because some people may not be able to pay interest on the principal. So all these measures are good. But the problem is whether this liquidity leads to credit increase, because it depends on the credit increase is needed because the credit growth is not high. So we need to have how do you increase the credit, the demand for credit.
Yes, demand.
Because even if liquidity is there, the banks are putting the money back into the RBI, because they don't want to take risks by giving credit to companies and all. So banks are risk averse.
Yes.
But the problem is, lockdown, there was no demand for credit. So this unlocking may give some impetus to the credit. And what RBI thinks is that once the unlocking is done, there will be demand for credit, and banks will give, also they will give credit guarantees, MSME and other kind of things. So hopefully, if you see the RBI monetary policy committee minutes yesterday they released, one of the things they say is that it is true that there can be what you said, liquidity trap kind of thing can be there. Liquidity is there, but credit is not. There is no demand for credit. But during this time, they say that it will increase the confidence of the consumers and the businesses with the liquidity. Not there, then there will be a lot of problems. So once the unlocking is done and business starts, then there will be demand for credit and liquidity.
Yes. It also depends on transmissions of the monetary policy. So what is your take on the transmission? Yes.
Transmission.
Because RBI is reducing, but banks are not following.
Yeah, banks, compared to earlier, 10% or 12% kind of thing, banks now also, if the repo is 4%, banks may be 6 or 7%, they may be doing. But earlier it was 10, 12 kind of percent. So there is some transmission, but more is needed because deposit rates, they cannot reduce the banks. So because the deposits will get affected. So, and also small savings interest rates are high. The 7% PF, Provident Fund and other things. So there are constraints for them to transmit the thing. But RBI measures may, if not 100%, at least 40-50% transmission will be there.
Will be.
Also bond yields have not reduced that much thing. So there is some, kind of liquidity trap, but over time, hopefully unlocking is done and the demand for business, then liquidity will be helpful.
Yes. That point was like from the consumer's point of view. If we think from the bank's perspective, if you see basic economics, circular flow. So between household and the firms and the government, there's a single body that is financial institution. So from the perspective of financial institution, how do you see this moratorium or the interest rate cuts and the less margin between the deposit and the loan rate? How do you see how banks can survive?
Actually, there will be a lot of NPAs.
Yes.
After the moratorium, because you remember the pre-COVID time, the twin balance sheet problem was there.
Yes.
Basically, corporate having high debts, and then banks having particularly the public sector banks having high NPAs. I mean, some 15% or 10%. Many banks, private sector banks at least, some are doing well and some maybe 4-5% or so.
Yes.
So that's why the economy, that twin balance sheet problem will further increase with the COVID. The moratorium, in fact, the interest rates it will accumulate, and by the time of end of 6 months, so there can be a lot of NPAs in the system.
Yes.
Unless the demand increases for credit, you pump more money into the hands of the consumers and all. So both retail credit and the wholesale credit, there may be NPAs more, and also bankruptcy of some companies also could be there. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. When we talk about unemployment in India, the primary argument is the lack of skilled people. Programs like Skill India sure are addressing this problem to some level, but the major underlying issue is our education system, which needs an uphaul to address this problem in the longer term. Do you think emphasis should also be led on bridging the education industry skill gap to address the unemployment in India in the long term?
Yeah, actually, as you know, India has the advantage of demographic dividend.
Yes.
Because we have young population and all. But the demographic dividend is useful only if you have education and skills.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will be demographic disaster or something. So then what's happening is the skill development is low in India. For example, Niti Aayog data shows that Indian workers are skilled only 2.3% compared to other countries 50-60% or 70% skilled. So the official skill kind of thing, vocational and other skills. So there's a lot of improvement needed in skills. Even compared to Chinese workers, Indian workers are less skilled. So that is one point needed.
Yes.
But even for the skills, you need quality of education. The quality of education has to be improved. Even you also have a school education thing. In fact, one of the deputy prime ministers of Singapore, he mentioned that the difference between East Asia and India is not technology or other things, but is the school education. He says the quality of school education in India is poor. I mean, directly he said in one of the Niti Aayog lectures. So that has to be improved. Otherwise, India will be in trouble in future. So it has to start from the school. The education, school education, learning outcomes are not there.
Yes.
You are getting passed and thing. And similarly, quality of higher education. Also, we have two types. Very high quality like IITs and IIM, Indian Institute of Science and all. But on the other hand, we have low quality on the other side. So it applies to both schools. We have very good private schools, very high quality, things and not getting the good education and learning outcomes.
Yes.
So that's why the between education, the industry and the education, as you mentioned, that there should be a collaboration between industry. So what are the jobs needed for industry? There should not be a supply and demand mismatch between industry and education. Which in fact foreign universities, some of them have good collaboration with industry. That you can provide the kind of graduates suitable to the industry. So in fact South Korea and other countries, they didn't concentrate on skills initially. They concentrated on quality of higher education, the sciences and other things. So then skills automatically come. So whereas we are doing a supply side, we try to increase skill targets. By end of this year, some 1 lakh will be skilled or something. But you have to see the demand. So that is important.
It means we are focusing on quantitative aspects, not the qualitative aspects. Yes. Because sir, what solution do you think? Is it like high supply of schools, colleges, like in every nook and corner we find colleges, school? That is the main problem, or the quality of teachers, the quality of like education system, total overall? What is the main problem and what's the solution?
I think the education system, several problems are there. One is the public expenditure is around 3% now, 3.5. Many committees have suggested 6%, for as percentage of GDP.
Yes.
So then schools and colleges are needed. Number is needed. Compared to our population, the number is needed. But it basically comes to quality. As you mentioned, the teachers, the quality, the training, and then you can and good infrastructure. Supply side, some of the things are necessary, but also as Abhijit Banerjee and others mentioned, that you need to have extra classes for the laggards.
Yes.
So to improve the learning outcomes. Yes. So not just classroom, because they will be fall behind. They don't understand. Also, you need extra classes for them, so that they will also cope up with this learning outcomes. So several measures are needed. Because it is not how many passed this year, completed school education or college education, but what they have learned. Learning outcomes are important.
Indeed, outcome approach is the most important. Yes. Yeah. In the process of economic growth, nature has been effectively sidelined, leading to 2/3 of the world's most polluted cities being in India, when we are less than 1/5 of its population. Air pollution shortens lives and lowers productivity, reducing the capacity to earn a living when alive. The poor are the most affected, as they cannot afford to live in gated communities that somehow manage to commandeer scarce natural resources. Do you think that any improvement in the life of the majority would require a realignment of the growth process so that it is less damaging?
Yeah, there has been a debate between environment and development. Yes. The developing countries argue also, we need development, so some kind of trade-off between environment and development. Okay. But now, with the climate change and other effects, even developing countries want to conserve resources, natural resources, forests and other things, and then reduce air pollution. And because for future generations it's important, because CO2 emissions increase. For example, it is affecting all the not only the natural resources, but also floods and droughts are happening, and first time we are seeing Arabian Sea cyclones
Yes,
recently.
yes.
Near Mumbai. Mumbai escaped luckily, but
Yes.
so earlier we didn't have. So people said it is due to climate change.
Climate
In fact, this in Davos, this girl from Sweden, Greta Thunberg,
Thunberg, yes.
yeah, she gave a good speech on the environment. How can you take away our lives for your own greed?
Yes.
So there is a need for lifestyle changes. In fact, the consumption patterns have to be changed. For example, IJD done study long time back on comparing consumption patterns of US and India. So US consumes almost 10 times everything to India. I mean, the kind of electricity, air conditioning, also they have heating system. So everything, even food consumption, everything they consume very, 10 times.
10 times.
India.
Yes, huge.
So India, that way is, less consumption. But there are two kinds of inequalities in the consumption. One is developed countries. They created this problem, environmental problems, because of high consumption and all. And within India, also inequalities. The rich have consumed. They have the lifestyles of like the rich in advanced countries. With 4 cars or so many air conditioners or so much consumption. So these inequalities have to be reduced. So in fact, COVID time, because of lockdown, the air quality has improved in Delhi and Mumbai.
Yes.
This is one example where if you are careful, for example, for me there is no need to travel Delhi quite often. I can have this Zoom or the virtual
All video conferencing apps. Yes.
So instead of flying to Delhi, and so these kind of things, and then cars also. How to reduce traveling and several things. I mean, the water less water consumption, so electricity saving. So our lifestyles have to be changed, I think, dramatically.
Yes, yes. COVID has been our biggest disruption since humanity, we can say. So that is changing from the old order to a new order. Yes.
Yeah, new normal.
New normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some good
India,
things are.
yeah.
Some good
Sorry,
things
sir,
are
please
because people are using technology, widely, so which is a good thing. Yeah. It's like your institute, like your company.
Ji sir, thank you. We have started since 2016 and we are doing online to reach every corner of the country. Yes.
Yeah.
India is aiming to become a $5 trillion economy by 2024, though this target may be delayed by the pandemic. But whenever it happens, what can be done to ensure that this growth is percolated and opportunities arising from it are equally distributed?
Yeah, $5 trillion economy will be difficult to achieve by 2024. Because as you know, the growth rate of the Indian economy has already declined to almost 3% even before COVID.
Yes.
And now they are saying minus 5% or so during COVID year 2021. So it will take a few years to repair this damage of COVID and also slowing down before pre-COVID also. In fact, somebody said the world will be divided into three history of the world, three phases. One is before COVID, BC, and after COVID, AC, and then DC is during COVID. That is our during the present.
Currently we are experiencing.
Yeah, till the vaccine comes or so. So we have BC, DC, and AC.
Yes.
So so AC time, how do you medium term increase the growth rate? So and then equal inclusive growth to achieve. So these are the measures needed. One is the macro policies have to be more pro-poor. in the sense, more job creation, quality of employment for the bottom of the pyramid also to increase, and then structural change. In books we read, structural change from agriculture to industry and services. So one of the problems of Indian economy is that we have not done manufacturing sector enough, the growth, like East Asian countries like China or other countries. So our GDP share in manufacturing is still 12% or so, 14% or so. So that has to be increased. And similarly, services, the quality of services also, because the informal sector, because in India, 91% of the workers are in informal sector. So if you take the informal workers in the formal sector also, it is about 91%. So how do you improve the quality of them for if you want to have equality, the thing. So one is employment side, you have to provide them jobs, the quality jobs. Not agriculture, maybe agriculture development is important for equality, inclusive growth, but not more jobs in agriculture. You can have agro processing, value chains, supply chains, their jobs, but not in actual agriculture, because it's a relatively low productive compared to the manufacturing and services. But of course, the migrant workers now, those who have gone, can be used in the rural development and all. Yeah. But so one is structural change thing, but you need basically three things for inclusive. One is also physical infrastructure has to be improved, because if you compare with other countries, our infrastructure is much lower. For example, China, or compared to that. One is physical, and second one already we talked, the human capital.
Human capital, yes.
So because the growth can be created with these two things, physical capital and human capital.
Human capital.
Physical infrastructure and human capital. So that will create growth and also inclusive growth.
Yes.
So shifting people from agriculture to manufacturing, services, from informal to formal, and then to physical infrastructure, because the construction activity and others also create jobs.
Yes.
Sort of we call in economics multiplier effect.
Multiplier effect.
Yeah. So that will have an impact on the jobs. So that will be more inclusive. And lastly, the social sector is very important development, because government generally neglect health education. So now with the COVID, I think health becomes an important where only 1.3% of GDP we spend on health. So that has to be increased. Similar issues like nutrition. It's a shame for India to have nearly 40% of our children suffering from nutrition, stunting and other nutrition. So those are the issues where equality, we can have growth and inclusive growth. And then for reducing inequalities, we need to have the income generation, but also we call it equality of opportunity. That is education is the equality, because even for a village person or weaker sections, if you have good education, for example, Manmohan Singh says he came up because of his education, not because anything. He's very rural background and relatively middle class thing, but he said he came up because of this equality of opportunity. He went to Oxford and then became a very well-known economist and then prime minister. So equality of opportunity can lead to more distribution of the growth benefits.
Yes, indeed, because India is not having any dearth of talent. It's just the
Yeah,
opportunity that.
yeah. And similarly, regional disparities, social disparities also depends on how these states, for example, eastern states are lagging behind compared
Yes.
to western states or southern states. Southern states, for example, Kerala, the Tamil Nadu, the human development is very high.
Yes.
And Kerala, that also, because of that, they could control the COVID effect
Yes.
because the communities are very, educated and they could manage that.
Indeed. One last question, sir. Out of all the pre-existing problems with the Indian economy, which according to you is the most pressing one and needs immediate measure other than this pandemic?
Uh, I mean, again, your previous question has some answers.
Yes.
One is if you see again pre-COVID, what are the problems? One is the twin balance sheet problem,
Yes.
the corporate sector and banking sector. So that has to be addressed.
Yes.
Now after COVID, that because if we don't address, then many will be bankrupt, and then whole financial sector can be a problem. So that is number one. And then second one is the government started this national infrastructure pipeline with 25 lakh crores or something in the next 5 years. So that also, as I was mentioning, the physical infrastructure, spending on infrastructure and all will be important to create jobs and other things. So that's number two. And then come to the social sector, the last one. These three are, I think, because if you don't take care of the social security of, people are talking about labor reforms.
Yes.
But labor reforms, if you do without social security, then there will be a social unrest.
Social.
So, yeah, so one has to, see the safety nets for the people also are equally important. For migrant workers, they're giving, proper rights. For example, one nation, one ration card is an important one. So like that, when they come back, giving proper shelter to them and other things are important. So these are the three priorities needed immediately in the medium term.
I personally read a lot of article about you and the agriculture sector related to income support UBI. So personally, a very big thank you, sir, for coming on Ecoholics. Just few words at last to of encouragement to Ecoholics students and Ecoholics team.
Yeah, it's a very innovative idea. The Ecoholics, I've not seen in India that kind of innovative thing. That is important because first you started as a with a low base the platform,
Yes.
and then became a company, and now you have more than 1 lakh plus followers or something on the platform. And you're also doing for the for the students, those who are appearing for UPSC, and also for this UGC
Yes.
net.
JRF.
Yeah, and then Indian Economic Service, and also for IGIDR or some other entrance examinations. It's a great service, and also with minimum cost.
Yes,
And this online thing, actually you have predicted even before COVID. I think because now everybody is doing online classes. And I have seen some of in the courses you are offering also, and then study material, for example, microeconomics, macroeconomics, the growth and development, and finance, all this labor economics, all are important. Course material is quite good, but one has to, of course, also sometimes check the theories, macroeconomics or microeconomic, suitable to India.
Yes.
For example, I'll give one example: the Phillips curve.
Yes.
it is based on US labor market. Labor market. So US labor market, if you see, wage employment is quite high. Almost 50% are wage employed, formal sector and all. But then same thing you apply to India, Phillips curve. Our labor market is different. We have 50% self-employed.
Yes.
Micro enterprises and all those. So sometimes you should also tell the students, Indian situation is slightly different in some of the cases.
Yes.
And so I'm sure you are doing that. So how you communicate in an easy fashion to students is also important. And then you're also doing the one-to-one mentor.
Yes, mentorship.
A mentorship, which we also do in our institute, because that's very important. As again, I was telling about Abhijit Banerjee's study, shows that that kind of mentorship can improve learning outcomes.
Yes.
Your approach is quite good that way. To learning outcomes can improve. So and also you have two subsidiaries. Other
the thinking tree that way. Yes.
Yeah, and also the thinking tree. Thinking tree is a good innovative idea, because nowadays many people are having webinars and all, but this kind of a kind of talk will be useful, and also non-COVID kind of because everybody is talking about COVID only, because COVID is one year kind of thing now, but to get back to other things. So I find it very innovative, this your Ecolix and the company, and also this thinking tree, and you are the main person behind this MD and CEO, and so I congratulate you and your colleagues for having company and doing this great service.
Thank you so much, sir, to coming on our platform, accepting our invitation, and you have graced our platform. Students are really excited yesterday also to get the information about that you are coming on the platform. I met you personally at one of the conferences, so that was a great experience for me as well. So personally, I look forward to meet you once again some other place. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.